Now we can have a new understanding of a parable that most of us have heard many times, and now we have a new understanding in it. Many of us have heard the story. Rav Ashlag, of course, quotes it in the Matan Torah, in the Wisdom of Truth, that there was a ger, a person who wanted to convert, and he came first to Shamai. We know that Shamai and Hillel represent left column and right column, Shamai being more judgment and Hillel being more mercy. So first he comes to Shamai, and he says, I want to convert, but teach me everything while I stand on one foot. Rav Ashlag has, of course, a beautiful, lengthy explanation of what he was asking, but at a minimum, what he was saying is, I want to know the most important teaching. I want to know the most important teaching, and tell it to me in a short way, in a quick way. So most of us know the end of the story. Shammai pushes him aside. Then he goes to Hillel. And Hillel says, whatever, love your neighbor as yourself. What you don't want done to you, don't do to others. Love your neighbor as your friend as yourself. That, of course, Rav Ashlag goes on to explain, is the basis of all the spiritual work. That's the part that most of us know. But what I want to focus on is the story of Shammai. What does it say when he comes to Shammai? Again, same question. Teach me everything while I stand on one foot. It says, Dachafo be'amat habinyan. It's a kind of crazy statement. It says that Shammai was holding on, I guess he was an architect or something. He was holding on to measurements of building, and he had it in his hand, and he pushes this guy with the measurement, if it's tape measure, whatever they had in those days that you would use to measure when you're building a building. Dachafo be'amat habinyan shebiyado. He pushed him away. Why is he pushing? I mean, let's assume Shammai is more judgment, but you're going to hit somebody? Number one. And number two, not only did he hit him, we know that everything that's written in the writings of the Kabbalists are not coincidental. So why does the Gemara, the Talmud tells us that he pushed him with the measurement of a building that he was holding in his hand? What's the secret of that story? So they explain that when a building is going under construction, when a building is not yet built, but it's in the middle of construction, most of us know you go to a construction site, you have to wear a hard hat. Why? Because things are flying everywhere. You know, people are still they're bringing the wood, they're bringing the bricks, whatever they're bringing to build the building. It's a very dangerous place to be. Therefore, you have to be careful. Of course, once the building is done, you can go there, you don't have to worry anymore. But while the building is happening, the construction site is a dangerous place. Because when the contractors, when the construction workers are building the building, they're throwing things all around. If you go there, you can get hurt. They're throwing things around, they're throwing their tools around. And it's dangerous to enter into a construction site. But if a person understands what's going on, he understands that it's all l'tachlit hanirtzeh, that there's a reason why it's dangerous. Not just because people want to hurt anybody who's there, but in the process of construction, things are being thrown around and people are throwing their tools around. That's the way construction works. That the purpose of this dangerous moment, this dangerous time of construction, is so that ultimately the building can be built in all of its beauty. It says that, and this is also from Rabbi Naftali of Rufshitz, we say in the Amidah, which we say 3 times a day, Uvne ota bekarov biyamenu binyan olam. We ask the Creator to build, and we're not talking about simply the physical structure of what's called the temple, but of course we're talking about the spiritual structure that's called the temple. שהקדוש ברוך הוא בונה תמיד את ירושלים ובית המקדש. That the process of construction doesn't happen at the end of the correction. It's going on now. The construction, both the physical, but more importantly the spiritual structure, which will be the vessel that will reveal the totality of the light of the redemption, is being built now. And we say, Uvne ota bekarov beyamenu, is being built with our days. Al yedei hayamim shelanu. Today, every single one of us is taking part. Hopefully you're more conscious of it, but regardless of whether you're conscious of it or not, you're taking part in the construction of the final of the Beit HaMikdash, of that spiritual entity that will reveal the totality of the light of the redemption. All the good things that we do are part of that building process. Al yedei ze bonet Yerushalayim, hakol lefi ma'asav. And depending on this person's spiritual elevation, depending on a person's spiritual work, that's how much construction he's helping. There are some people who are really intense in their spiritual work and in their connection. They build a whole layer of bricks. And one person who's doing less spiritual work puts one brick. And now he says we can understand. So what are the challenges, the difficulties that we're feeling? If you understand, and it's a beautiful image, that if you want to be, and hopefully we want to be, in the process of constructing that vessel that's called the Bet HaMikdash, the temple, that will be the place and the vessel through which the light of the final redemption will be created, you have to realize you're in a construction site. And the tsar, the pain anybody goes through, the difficulties that somebody goes through, the darkness that somebody goes through, that's part of being in that construction site. A person can say, I don't want to be part of that construction, and maybe they'll have less difficulty, less challenges. It's like the person, as we said, walks by the construction site, he won't get anything thrown on him, a brick won't land on his foot, nobody's tools are going to hit him, but he's not part of the construction. If you want to be part of the construction, you have to understand that within the construction site, sometimes it gets dangerous, and sometimes damage happens, and sometimes pain happens. But you have to understand why it's happening. Because if you're in the process of constructing the temple, constructing the final redemption, the third temple, you're in the construction site. And in the construction site, things happen. So the good that we do, the light that we reveal, the spiritual work that we do, you're building the bricks. The pain that you're experiencing, that's part of the process of being in the site of the construction of the final temple, the third temple, of the final redemption. And this gives us a perspective, a true perspective, on any difficulties that we go through, any darkness that we go through, any pain that we go through. Now, if you're conscious of it, then it helps the building. But if you're not conscious of it, then you are not part of the building. So for instance, using the example again, if you're in the construction site and somebody drops a brick on your foot, it hurts. Now you don't know you're in the construction site or you don't care. You take the brick and you throw it away. But wait a second. They need that brick for the building. If you're conscious of the fact that you're in the construction site of the third temple, you say, okay, this hurt me, but I'm not going to throw the brick away. I understand why it hurt me, because this is what happens when you're in the site of construction. I'm going to put it back to where it needs to be. Somebody dropped their hammer. You don't just throw the hammer away. You say, I understand why it happened. This pain, this difficulty happened because I'm in the construction site. I'm not going to throw it away. I'm going to see how I continue helping the construction process. And so therefore, it's not just enough. It's beautiful to know that this is the where we are or where we want to be, and therefore pain comes with it, and challenges come with it, and darkness comes with it. But if you're aware of it, then the pain that you go through and the challenges that you go through and the darkness that you go through actually assist the construction. Whereas if you're not conscious of it, then the pain that you're going through, the darkness that you feel, does not assist in the process of creation. As a matter of fact, it could be a hindrance. This is the secret when it says that the Ger came to Shamai and he said, teach me everything. He said, give me I want to understand the purpose of life, but I want the easy path. Shamai, he took the measure of a building. He said, listen, if you're not willing to accept the work with the pain that will go through it, don't even start the work. Because we have to understand the mashal, the parable of the work that you want to take on yourself is in a construction site. In a construction site, things get built and people get hurt sometimes. And this is what Shamai was telling him. And that's why the secret, dachafo be'amat binyan, why does it say he pushed him with a measure of a building? Because he wanted to tell him, listen, it's good to come and say you want to do the spiritual work and you want to help the world, you want to bring light to the world, and you want to bring the Gemara Tikkun. But that means nothing. If the only way you want to do it is just building nice buildings. If you're going to build, that means you're going to be in the construction site, that means you're going to get hurt, that means there's going to be damage. If you're not ready for that, you're not ready to build. If you're not ready for the pain that comes from being there, then you're not ready to build. And that's why dachafo be'amat binyan, that's why Shammai pushed him with the measure of a building. And of course the lesson for us, be'ilei mishpatim asher tasim lifnehem. Before the final redemption comes the dinim, comes the judgment. And if you're willing to accept the judgment and the challenges and the darkness that comes before the final redemption, that occurs within the construction site, then you could be part of the building of the redemption. If you're not, then you're not, as Shammai tells the girl, you can't be part of this process at all. You can't be part of the process at all. It's very important to understand. So how do you strengthen understanding this, understanding that there's pain and there's darkness? How do you strengthen your certainty during this? And I want to give a tool. I'm not sure if I shared this once, but I'm sure most of us aren't using it enough. It's a very powerful tool from the Ari. and with a few other commentaries from the Kabbalists that we all should be using consistently to strengthen, awaken our certainty.